But it was street circuit maestro Daniel Ricciardo who set the pace at Marina Bay in FP1. His Red Bull teammate Max Verstappen was next fastest, but neither driver was completely happy during the session.
You have some weird sliding going on.
Drivability sucked that lap.
Understood.
Behind them, drivers were finding the limits on the way to their hot laps. They were all harmless lockups and spins until the very end of the session when Charles Leclerc tagged the wall at the kink on the Anderson Bridge, tearing the suspension from the front right of his Sauber. A disappointing end to a session in which a P9 finish showed the potential of the package. Nico Hülkenberg had a special helmet for his 150th race this weekend, and with 5th fastest in practice ahead of championship leader Lewis Hamilton, it could be a memorable weekend. For Silver Arrows fans, FP1 could be viewed as something of a disappointment on paper, but with both Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas making mistakes, and with neither having run the hyper-soft tyres, there's clearly speed to be found. Lewis Hamilton has never qualified outside the top 5 in Singapore. Sauber and Haas were close together on the cusp of the top 10. After their Monza controversy and disqualification, Haas have a new floor this weekend and will be looking to dial it in further as the sessions continue. McLaren had a difficult session, Stoffel Van Dorn finishing at the bottom of the timesheets with the fewest laps as the team trialled new parts, while Alonso briefly had a power outage.
Low power. And it should have recovered by now. No.
The teams will be looking to perfect their cars for FP2, where conditions will be closest to those for qualifying. Will Mercedes find a match to the early speed of Red Bull and Ferrari?
Oh, don't worry about it. Get in there, Lewis.
Formation all the way out, just to show our Italian colleagues.
Welcome to Formula One Paddock Pass, your pre-race edition for the 2018 Singapore Grand Prix, and it is wonderful to be back here under the lights of Singapore. What a couple of weeks it's been since the Italian Grand Prix in Monza. So much news to go through. Of course, the biggest news of all is that Charles Leclerc will race for Ferrari in 2019. Kimi Raikkonen has signed with Sauber for 2 years, taking him back to the team with which he started his Formula One journey many, many moons ago. The big question now is what happens to Stoffel Van Dorn, as Lando Norris is also confirmed at McLaren. What also happens to Esteban Ocon, given that it doesn't look very likely that he will be continuing with Force India. And yeah, the Mercedes-backed seats and the possibilities for him in the sport narrow by the day. We'll come to all of that in time. We'll start though with the man who won last time out in Monza, Lewis Hamilton. He's had a very busy couple of weeks, notably going over to China to launch his new fashion line in collaboration with Tommy Hilfiger, and then doing New York Fashion Week. A little bit of a different fortnight then for Lewis, preparing him to come here for Singapore in a very different way, I think, to most other F1 drivers. On the racetrack, obviously your results are tangible. They are just, you know, they're black and white, but in something creative, there's always an opinion, whether it's music or fashion. Is that quite nerve-wracking for the first time, putting something that you've come up with, that you've created in front of people for them to judge?
Definitely is, especially when you've yeah, it definitely is. I mean, naturally in my career I've been a part of projects and campaigns where I've had nothing to do with them, and you just have to stand there and you have no connection to it, so it doesn't matter. But to be so heavily involved in something and to see it come out, and yeah, of course you're nervous of what people are going to think, how people are going to respond to it, but honestly it's been the best. Like, so happy with the response. The response has been far better than I could have dreamed. You know, when you've got Justin Bieber posting about it, when you've got people asking, you know, I've got people that are doing music videos asking for the collection. You've got, you know, you got rappers and models and, you know, different kind of celebrities and just people in general sort of life wearing it. And today I was at a fan signing and there was a couple of people wearing the tops, you know, so it's traveling slowly, and I really appreciate all that support.
Probably talk about racing a little bit. Monza was a huge result for you guys coming here. Start of the flyways to the end of the season. Can you hope to maintain that momentum?
I can hope. Hope is it's probably the most powerful thing I think us as humans hold. Just going to work hard to try and. It's going to be very tough. These next races are going to be very, very tough. There's still a lot of points available. Ferrari have obviously had the upper hand performance-wise, but as a team collectively we've outperformed them. So I'm hopeful that we can do it more. But you know, we come into the race here, for example, it's a downforce circuit. Ferrari naturally should have the upper hand, but maybe a lot of work has been going on back at the factory. The guys are working so hard, so maybe just this weekend, maybe we'll be closer than we have in the past years.
Now, we've talked to a Mercedes world champion in Lewis Hamilton. Let's talk to somebody who I think we all assumed is a champion in waiting, Esteban Ocon, part of the Mercedes Young Driver program, and yet ironically that Young Driver program that has helped him get to Formula One now stands in the way potentially of his continued presence in the sport. More than one team has said that they won't touch Esteban Ocon for next year because he is tied still to Mercedes. What's the point in putting in the time and the effort and the money to run him, to help him develop as a racing driver, just to lose him further down the line? It's an odd state of affairs, isn't it, where Ferrari have invested in youth and given that chance to Charles Leclerc, and Mercedes opted to stay with Valtteri Bottas, who is, as we know, an incredibly able driver. Is he the champion of the future that we believe Esteban Ocon to be? Perhaps that's a question for Mercedes. Anyway, the questions, as we can put them today, to Esteban Ocon over what is an uncertain future and a mystifying one, given the raw potential that exists within that young man. During the week, social media posting from you, which a lot of people have taken to mean you won't be racing in Formula One next year. It was almost a farewell message for the sport. Is that as you see it, or are people taking that to a conclusion that isn't yet decided?
No, it's not the case yet. Of course, we are not in an easy situation at the moment. I don't know what I will do next year so far. Yeah, I had to, you know, explain that. That's the way I felt at the moment, seeing, you know, all my rivals getting top seats, getting cars to fight for podiums and victories, and you know, I still don't know what I will do next year. So it's not an easy situation, but yeah, I will, you know, overcome that.
Obviously, you owe a lot to Mercedes to be in the sport in the first place, being a part of that Young Driver program. Is that Young Driver program now holding you back?
I don't think so. I think, you know, I'm also here thanks to Mercedes. They have helped me to arrive here in Formula One and to be the driver I am now. Of course, you know, I'm disappointed with how things have turned out. You know, it looks like it's not only results and not only what you do on track, but also outside of the track. So that's what disappoints me at the moment, and you know, I'm trying to push as hard as I can, and we'll find a way.
A lot of people think Williams' seat might be on the cards for you next year, if not possibly a third driver role. Which would you prefer if it was one or the other?
Well, I can't say anything about this. I don't know what will happen, but we'll see. You know, at the moment I'm racing with the team. I have still plenty of races to do here, and we are here in Singapore. I'm focused on that. Obviously, I'm still talking to see what's the best option for me for the future, and yeah, we are trying to work the best for my future year.
You're gutted about this, aren't you?
Sorry?
Gutted.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with the situation for sure. We've been